me your dreams.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be comparing and contrasting PGR and Aether Gazer. That's basically it. If you like the content, just leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It'd be greatly appreciated. I've played both of these games as a free-to-play, and we're just gonna, basically break them down, what makes them tick, what makes them good, what makes them bad, all that stuff. So first things first, let's talk about the free-to-play aspect for both of these games. Now, Punishing Gray Raven is probably one of the most free-to-play friendliest games I've ever played. When it comes to the freebies, PGR gives out more. Aether Gazer doesn't really give out that much freebies. In PGR, there is a banner that lets you get the guaranteed SSR in 60 pulls, but there's also a whale one that guarantees you in around 80 pulls. While in Aether Gazer, there's only one banner, or I guess two banners, the standard banner and the event banner. You need to do 80 pulls in Aether Gazer in order to get a guaranteed SSR. But when it comes to free-to-play friendliness, I think Punishing Gray Raven has it better, hands down. So on to the daily resource grinds. When it comes to doing your dailies in either of these games, PGR has a better quality of life, and you can also do your dailies a lot more quicker. For example, PGR has a auto clearing feature in the daily resources grind, so you don't actually have to manually play the resource grinding in order to get the resources you need. Aether Gazer lacks this quality of life. You actually have to manually play the daily resource grinding stages in order to do your daily resource grinding. If Aether Gazer did have that quality of life that PGR had, then Aether Gazer would definitely be a little bit more quicker to do when it comes to your dailies. Because in Aether Gazer, all you gotta do for your dailies is just spend your stamina. You don't really have to do any other extra stuff like visit a dormitory or do a co-op mode. Alright, so let's get on to the meat of the games, which is the gameplay. In Punishing Gray Raven's gameplay, you have a normal attack, and then you have your skills in which you have access to through the right side of the screen. You basically click on the orbs, and if you match them up, they'll have a stronger or a special effect on the skill. If you manage to match 3 orbs, you're able to trigger a QTE with one of your teammates. You can also switch to one of your teammates. After you have normal attacked and used your skills for a while, you'll be able to use your burst. Also, whenever you dodge an enemy's attack at the right timing, you'll be able to activate the matrix dodge, which basically makes your orbs light up, and whenever you select that orb, you'll be able to trigger a QTE without matching 3 orbs. Now onto Aether Gazer's gameplay. You have your normal attacks, and then you have your skills, and then after you've built up enough energy, you'll be able to use a burst or a team attack. You can trigger your other party members' QTE, however, it does take a bit of time. It's not like in Punishing Gray Raven, in which you can just match 3 orbs or select a special orb and trigger the QTE. In Aether Gazer, you just have to wait a bit in order to trigger your party members' QTE. However, in Aether Gazer, you can't switch party members. You're basically only playing as one character while your other party members are out in the field doing some damage. You can also do a matrix dodge when you dodge at the right timing. I have fun with both of these games. I have nothing but love for both of these games, but I will give credit where it's due. I do think Punishing Gray Raven has the better gameplay. It's a lot more faster and smoother. Keep in mind that in Aether Gazer, the character that I main, she is a little bit slower compared to the other characters that I have played. But I only have played those characters in their trials. I don't really have those characters in my account. I just think that Punishing Gray Raven has a pretty unique combat system, something that you don't really see in an action RPG. Also, I don't know if it's just me, maybe I just suck at Aether Gazer, but I find it really hard to trigger the matrix dodge in Aether Gazer compared to Punishing Gray Raven. I'm not saying I'm like the dodge god in PGR, I get hit every now and then, but I feel like it's way more difficult to trigger the matrix dodge in Aether Gazer than PGR, but I don't know, that might be just me, a skill issue or something. Now, when it comes to the difficulty of these games, I do think Punishing Gray Raven is definitely the harder out of these two. I'm not saying that Aether Gazer is a walk in the park either. It does have difficulty spikes, but you don't really see them until later in the game. When I was playing the CN version of PGR way back in the day before global was even a thought, I was struggling a lot in the early game, especially against the Roland fight. And since there was no English guide or anything, I basically just relied on leveling and a little bit of technique in order to get through that fight. You fight Roland pretty early in the game. I do believe he was at like chapter 3 or something. I didn't really see any difficulty spikes in Aether Gazer until maybe like chapter 10 or whenever I fight those two twin girls or whatever. Although Aether Gazer does have ways to cheese bosses. You can freeze the bosses, and you can also stun them with certain characters. Also, if you're playing a ranged characters, you can have one of your teammates aggro the boss, and you basically just hit the boss from the distance while the boss is too busy with your teammate. But those cheap tricks don't really last forever because there are bosses that have wide AoE, and sometimes there are bosses where you have to fight two bosses at the same time. But overall, like I said, I like PGR's gameplay a little bit more since it's a little bit more faster, smoother, and you can at least switch other characters on the fly anyways. So let's talk about the endgame content of Punishing Gray Raven and Aether Gazer. Both of these games have plenty of endgame content, so you don't have to worry about running out of content so easily. Punishing Gray Raven has a war zone, which is like a player versus player who can clear these mobs the fastest type deal. The Phantom Page Gauge, which is basically like your raid boss. This revival plan. I don't really know how to describe this game mode. You basically fight mobs of enemies and collect ores, and you use those ores to power some generator to get rewards or something like that. Golden Vortex, which is like your labyrinth mode, which also has a story in it. And Operation Guardians, which is basically like your board game. You have nodes that fight, you have nodes that collect stuff. Aether Gazer has game mode similar to this. However, since I am playing the Chinese version, I don't know the exact name of these modes. You have a mode that's basically similar to Genshin's Abyss. You have like a mobs of enemies and you basically have to clear them before the timer runs out. You also have a boss rush or boss raids that you can do. And you also have a labyrinth mode. There's also a mode in which you just like fight 4 or 5 nodes of enemies and you get rewards at the end of it. There are also 2 other game modes that I didn't bother to touch because with the Chinese text, I don't know what the game wants me to do or what to click on in order to progress. But nevertheless, Aether Gazer has at least endgame content, something that Genshin lacks. Oh, also one more thing, I probably should have mentioned this in the beginning of the video, but I'll mention it here. It's a small little thing, but I did notice that Aether Gazer doesn't have a return player event that PGR has. For example, Punishing Gray Raven, when you haven't logged into the game for 15 days and you log back in on like the 16th or after 15 days you haven't, you will get a returning players event. Aether Gazer should definitely have this mode in the game so it can at least encourage players to come back. Just some food for thought. Anyways, that's going to be the end of this video. As I said before, I have nothing but love for both of these games. I can't wait for Aether Gazer to come out global. I hope global will be a success. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys later.
Bye bye now. Come again soon.